Jetzt geht es wieder los. We are back racing once again, and this time we have our second set of races to contend with. And first of all, it is Micromax, and your starting order will be as follows. Tom Reger will start from pole position in the 88. Maximilian Pilch in the number 11 will be alongside on the front row. Kenyon Washington will start on the inside of row number 2 in the number 14. Alongside will be the number 55 of Maxime Becker. Niklas Casarino will start from 5th in the number 12. Alongside will be Marlon Di Salvo in the number 23. Noah Janssen in the number 31 will start on the inside of row 4, and alongside we'll have Ole Glan in the number 18. Running out the 11-strong grid here in Micromax will be Gabriel Hoffmann in the 95, Matthias Schulte in the number 50, and Christos Malakos in the number 27. Once again, 9 minutes plus an additional lap of racing action awaits our Micromax competitors. The youngest of 6 classes here at Wittgenborn for the RMC Germany finale. So in just a couple of corners' time, they will put the accelerators down to go racing for the second of 3 times today here at Wittgenborn. They now make their way round the final corner. Into the tram lines they come. They push the accelerators down hard. It is lights out. They are off and away, and Reger keeps the inside line for the moment going into turn 1. Looks like Washington's already got up into second place. I think maybe even Maxime Becker might have made up a position. No, that's actually Niklas Casarino, as one of the carts drifts a little bit wide, and that looks to be possibly one of the drivers, maybe Christos Malakos, I'm not too sure. However, at the moment, it is now Tom Reger that leads. Kenyon Washington in the number 14 rounds out the top 2. Casarino is all there in 3rd place at the moment. Maxime Becker rounds out the top 4 positions, as it looks like the C4 Racing teammates nearly come to blows there on the hairpin towards the latter part of the circuit. So at the moment, Reger leads from Washington. Now Pilch looks to have got past Casarino for 3rd place as they come around the final corner. 1 lap now completed. Reger leads from Washington, as it is a 3-way scrabble over 3rd place. And at the moment, looks like Casarino has just hung on to it for the moment. But who is going to be up the inside of the number 12 going through? And that is, oh, that's very close to call. I think that could be Maxime Becker that might have just made the move there. Pilch a little bit towards the outside now, as Hoffmann, as Pilch has dropped down towards what is 9th place, as there is Hoffmann in 5th place in the number 95 going through the chicane. So the leaders starting to break away, and at the moment the fastest driver out there is the leader at the minute, Tom Reger in the number 88 on a 54.081. But Kenyon Washington was just 0.3 of a second behind on the last lap. But we're about to complete lap number 2 here, and Washington in the tow looks towards the inside of Reger as they come across the start-finish line. Washington trying to go for the lead. Reger powers around the outside and keeps the lead for the minute. So there's some great dueling up and down the order here in Micromax, as we have come to expect all the way through when the season started back at Mulsen. But Washington still trying to keep pace with Tom Reger, and Washington has gone quicker than anybody. A 53.062 second lap time from the number 14 with Knees Racing. Looking to now consolidate that pressure and put Reger under the kibosh, so to speak, and nearly gets to get the opportunity through into the last couple of corners before we complete lap number 2, as Washington again keeps in the slipstream of Reger, followed by Becker. Hoffmann now up into 4th past Niklas Casarino. Marlon Di Salvo rounds out the top 6 positions. Maximilian Pilch trying to claw back and exercise some damage limitation. And at the moment, the number 11 is currently in 8th place and is trying to chase down Ole Glan, as Marlon Di Salvo closing in on both Niklas Casarino and Gabriel Hoffmann. Washington still waiting for that opportunity to get past Tom Reger for the lead, and at the moment that is not quite happening for the number 14, but it looks to be the case now, as Washington up the inside of Reger to take the lead on what is lap number 4 of this race. Using the strategy. But then look behind. Maxime Becker now joins the party. The C4 Racing driver rounds out the top 3 as they go hurtling their way through turns 1, 2 and into the hairpin at 3. Line astern of the trio with just over 5 minutes and 10 seconds remaining plus 1 additional lap. Washington has the advantage over Reja and Becker at the minute. But Reja closes on the back bumper of Washington this time around, looking towards the next hairpin. But this time around, Washington goes defensive. A little tap from behind, courtesy of Reja, but that allows Washington to have, in not being a hindrance, but more of a help, as he now powers away by about a kart length or 2 from Reja, who now has Maxime Becker just behind for close company. Lap number 5 completed. As Becker, tussles with Reja going into turn number 2. But they both managed to, no! That looks like Reja, now that looks like Becker's off the track. Becker off the track. Unfortunately, the pair clashed wheels. And as a result of that, that means that Gabriel Hoffmann in the number 95 now jumps up into 3rd place. And so Maxime Becker now having to use this as valuable time to put the laps in, unfortunately, but not be competing at the sharp end of the field. But now it is a knees racing 1-2 courtesy of Gabriel Hoffmann, as Hoffmann has got past Reja in the meantime. Casarino rounds out the top 4. Oleg Lan, followed by Marlon Di Salvo. Then it's Maximilian Pilch. Then Christos Malakos, Matthias Schulte, Noah Janssen, and very shortly Maxime Becker will cross the line. Down in 11th position goes the number 55 from C4 Racing. But Washington has a gap of nearly a second and a half after 6 laps completed, being now that we're on lap number 7. And at the minute, Hoffmann is fending off Reja for 2nd place. Then look behind, you've got Casarino, Oleg Lan and Marlon Di Salvo, as now Oleg Lan goes up the inside of Nicolas Casarino and to take 4th position. No opportunity there for the 23 of Marlon Di Salvo to get past, as now Casarino gets into the slipstream of Oleg Lan, heading into turn 1. And that nearly opens the door for Marlon Di Salvo as they come through. A great battle between 4th, 5th and 6th at the moment, as we have just under 2.5 minutes remaining. And Kenyon Washington trying to extend that lead, but it is being somewhat truncated. It was nearly a second and a half. It is now 1.247 seconds between Washington and teammate from Nice Racing, the number 95 of Gabriel Hoffmann. Tom Reja in the 88 still rounds out the top 3 and tries to close on Hoffmann yet again. But whilst this is all happening, a little bit further down the order, Marlon Di Salvo closing on Nicolas Casarino in the slipstream, going down in towards turn number 1. Di Salvo to the outside, Casarino to the inside. Through turns 1 and 2. Casarino still keeps ahead for the minute, just ahead of the hairpin. Nicely done by the number 12. So just a minute and a half still to go, and the lead between Kenyon Washington and Gabriel Hoffmann just over 1.25 seconds. And once again, Di Salvo still trying to pressurize Casarino, but Casarino still keeping on the defensive, having no other alternative to do so. However, Di Salvo could have another chance in the next 60 seconds or so. So Oleg Lan currently has the fastest lap of the race of 52.431 as they're now onto lap number 10. And Oleg Lan closing once again on Reja, who in turn is closing on Gabriel Hoffmann. And the gap between Washington and Hoffmann now has gone down to 0.8 of a second. as they've just made their way through the chicane. Very, very equally matched are the drivers in second, third and fourth position. Oleg Lan looked towards the inside there on Tom Reger, but Reger closed the door. So Washington continuing to lead proceedings here in the number 14 from Nice Racing. Gap now between him and Hoffman, just over 8 tenths. As Oleg Lan trying to go past Tom Reger, but Reger kept half the cut on the inside line and half just off it. So time has now expired. Reger took the first victory of the weekend, but the way that this has been a great performance from Kenyon Washington so far, after this there will be one lap, just over 1,030 metres of the track here at Wittgenborn for Washington to negotiate. As now Oleg Lan has made the move up past Tom Reger to take third on the penultimate lap. As Di Salvo now ahead of Casarino, who has been caught hand over fist by Maximilian Pilch. Last lap board being shown to Kenyon Washington. And has a gap of just over 3/4 of a second from Gabriel Hoffman. Oleg Lan now being pressurised as Tom Reger looks to get the upper hand to retake third position before the end of this race. Di Salvo, Casarino and Pilch not that far behind, but just a few more corners to negotiate. So the drivers now being led by Kenyon Washington for the final time here in race number 2 out of 3 for Saturday. One more corner it now comes down to. Round the final corner, looks to be the first victory for Kenyon Washington in the number 14. Gabriel Hoffman makes it a 1-2 for Nice Racing, ahead of Oleg Lan from Bühler Kart Racing Team. Energy Corsa Germany's Tom Reger takes 4th ahead of Marlon Di Salvo. Niklas Casarino takes 6th ahead of Maximilian Pilch, with Matthias Schulte and Christos Malakos rounding out the top 9. Noah Janssen takes 10th place ahead of Maxime Becker, who unfortunately through that clash between himself and Tom Reger earlier on finishes in 11th place.